A lot of praise for the Suns' backcourt, deservedly so, but their big fella continues to shine, and his underhanded granny shot from half court is pretty good. Go ahead and you do your work down there, big fella, because you are tough to stop. Alley-oop from Booker. Cam Johnson finds Ayton. This is the play that Tim showed us a little earlier on the touchscreen. Ayton had 10 and 8 in the first half. Off the Bridges miss, there's Ayton for the loud follow. Yeah! The Valley roaring its approval as one last alley-oop from Paul to Ayton. Too easy. 22 on 8 of 10 shooting from the floor. Also grabbed 19 rebounds. 22 and 19. Becoming the fourth player in finals history to have 20 and 15 on an 80% shooting performance in a game. The other three, how about a list where you're on with Wilt because he's on every list, Kareem and Bill Russell. You have to, I don't even know if the young man fully understands how great this list is. Wasn't alive when they were playing, really, but that's okay. He's here now and he is enjoying every bit of this.
I mean, I'm just happy because I woke up saying, this is just one game closer. You know what I'm saying? I get goosebumps. Sometimes I overwhelm myself on the way to the game. I'm having a lot of fun because my guys in there, they keep me level and, they keep me intent with it.
We welcome Tim Legler back. You just had an observation. If you're DeAndre Ayton, what do you get?
Take that graphic that you just showed, put that on your wall, blow that thing up, put it in a frame.
I mean, I'm sure he has grand aspirations for his career, but I mean, you're not joking. You're talking about Bill, you're talking about Wilt, you're talking about Kareem, and you're on that list. He continues to be excellent, and the Suns get this victory. But you made the point earlier, Tim. You expect to see a different Bucks approach on the defensive side as it relates to switching. How different do you anticipate Giannis will appear in Game 2? I
think significantly, unless he's just completely lying about how his leg feels. I mean, if he's saying, hey, it felt no pain, felt great out there, and we're going to take him at his word, then I'm going to say what I saw tonight was a guy that was sort of tentative, feeling that thing out. That was a very serious injury. He's been through a lot. I'm sure he's still got swelling in there. He seemed like a guy that was not in his normal aggressive mindset. That's not the same guy I've watched for the last few years. So if he's telling the truth and he really does feel good physically, well, the test is now behind me. Game 2, you get back to being Giannis Antetokounmpo, playing downhill, getting in gaps, taking advantage of a team that plays a lot of small lineups. DeAndre Ayton's a legit big, but they have a lot of lineups out there with two guards, Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges. That's a small team, and those are typically the kinds of teams that Giannis Antetokounmpo guts you with because he gets you with that stride, he gets in a gap, and there's not a lot of size there as a second-line defender. That's what I expect to see out of Giannis. He has to be, obviously, much better than he was tonight if the Milwaukee Bucks want to have a shot at winning this.
Our guy Stanford, Steve, hope you're enjoying the beach, big man, makes the point, and he's right, that the biggest mistake we tend to make this time of year in particular is to overreact to what we see in a game, presuming it will continue in the next. It often does not. But was there anything that the Bucks did that they're going to want to take with them to Game 2? Obviously, they want a different result, but you're telling me don't bury the Bucks just yet. I mean, were there things you saw that you're like, that wasn't bad?
Not a lot, truthfully.
Understood.
But this is one of the highest scoring teams in the last couple of decades in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They're much better offensively than they showed tonight. The problem was they kept taking the ball to the net all night. They were so bad defensively and so ill-equipped to defend them and offer resistance to what Phoenix was trying to run. You can't get that train moving up the floor, and that's when they're at their best. Giannis, with his speed, with those guys running to the line, that's when they're really special offensively. Didn't see very many examples of that in this game.
But I almost wonder, when you're that bad defensively, if that's not a good thing, because when you put the tape on, it's really obvious what you need to be better at. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like if there's a subtlety, I just don't know what we can do better, that would suck. Look, when you know what you need to do better, that's the fix.
Never played in the NBA Finals, but I've been in a lot of film rooms as a player the day after an embarrassing defensive effort,
Understood.
And there's going to be a lot of ticked-off guys in there. And if they have the kind of pride that they've shown, that's going to be a team where guys are going to take more accountability for their own individual challenge. And it starts with Drew Holiday on Chris Paul as much as you can get him there and keep him there. Because even P.J. Tucker, who wants to go out there and compete, we love his heart, from a lateral mobility standpoint, that's not a great matchup for him either. Drew Holiday is the guy, and Chris Paul is the key. You've got to get as many minutes as you can with Drew Holiday fighting over screens and insisting on taking on that matchup, even if it means you give up a little bit offensively on the other end. Let other guys make up for that. That should be your main responsibility in this series.
We get 90 minutes, man. We can air it out. This is good fun, right?
Definitely.
This like takes us back to our days in the CAF up in Connecticut when we just sat down and just chatted over some dinner. We're going to do it again on Thursday night, Tim.
You got it. I'll be here.
I appreciate it. When we continue, so much of this conversation about what the Bucks are going to do, what they should do, this, that, and the other thing. A report from their locker room when we continue on Sports. Chris Paul, after a tremendous performance. And Stephen A., I'll welcome you back in. You heard what he had to say about the performances of these young guys. I'll get to you just in 1 second, Stephen A. You see a 30-point game in the NBA Finals at 36 or older all time. You know Kareem's on that list. He was ageless. Tim Duncan, you could say the same about him. And now Chris Paul, in his first NBA Finals game, joins that list. I wanted to get back to you, Stephen A., just to get your thoughts about what you heard, specifically about the youngsters, because this is their first playoff run, whether it's Booker or Ayton or Bridges. What are you seeing from those guys in complementing what Paul is providing?
Well, first of all, I'm seeing skill. Devin Booker is a star. This brother is special, and tonight was the latest example of how special he can be. Let's give major props to DeAndre Ayton. He had about 22 points, 19 rebounds, and was a constant presence and force throughout this evening. Mikal Bridges came off and hit a couple of threes. Obviously, Cameron Payne, he doesn't shoot much, but when he puts it up, it usually goes in. I'm sorry, not Cameron Payne, but Cameron Johnson. And then you look at Cameron Payne, what he comes in, what he's capable of doing off the bench. But it's a tribute and a credit to them that they're willing to listen to the tutors, to the just the leadership and the guidance from a veteran like CP3. In today's generation of players, so many times we look at youngsters and they've got the skill, and because they've got the skill, Scott, as you've reported on so many occasions, they've got the skills, they've got the bag, they know what they can bring to the table, and as a result, they feel they have arrived, that they don't necessarily need to listen to anybody. But
right.
CP3 comes here, devoid of a championship, having had that escape him throughout his illustrious 16-year career, and despite the absence of a championship, they treat him like a champion because they respect the knowledge that he's trying to bless them with and the level of wisdom that he's imparted upon them. And so you got to give them credit where credit is due. To be young, to be established, to have the money, to have the skill set, to have all the adulation thrown in their direction, and to still be humbled enough to be held in check by a leader searching for his first championship, not one that came here as a champion. You got to give credit where credit is due. It shows that although they're young, they're incredibly mature, and they showed it tonight by being prepared for game one. And pretty much throughout these playoffs, every single series they've walked into, they've come here prepared and ready to play and put somebody else on their heels to start the playoffs. You got to give credit where credit is due in that regard.
I agree. Really well put. There's a lot to like about being out in the Valley, but there's one thing that's the challenge, and that's that wake-up call comes early. And I know First Take will be, I'm looking at my watch, you got to get some early rest to get up early and bring the heat tomorrow. I appreciate you.
I'm good, but please don't say bring the heat. It's 106 degrees already here, okay?
Yeah, but it's a dry heat. You don't sweat?
I don't care. It's heat. Listen, I ain't going to complain. I like the heat better than the cold, so I ain't going to front. But it's roasting here. Roasting.
Turn the AC
you have
up,
a tan
my guy.
already, Scott.
I know your suite is
I
know your suite is well looked after. Stephen A. Smith, I appreciate you, man.
Something like that. All right, my man.
All right, the Suns improved to a 4-0 in Game 1s this postseason, outscoring opponents by more than 11 per game. 11 of the previous dozen teams to go 4-0 in Game 1s went on to win the title. DeAndre Ayton, who we've been giving a great deal of credit to because he continues to earn it throughout this postseason. Another 20-point game on 80% shooting, fourth such game this postseason, the most by any player in the shot clock era, which dates all the way back to the mid-50s, so it's been a while. As for the 36-year-old NBA Finals rookie Chris Paul, 32-9, the first player with at least 38-9 in an NBA Finals debut since Michael Jordan in 1991. Coach Bud on what he saw from Paul and the Suns.
He's a good player. Their pick and roll game is tough to guard. So I think we just got to keep getting better. We'll look at the film. See how we can maybe take away some of the rhythm, to just take it where, or make it where, he's not getting to his spots as easily. That'll be a big part of looking between game 1 and game 2.
Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, again, kind to join us as they have been throughout this playoffs. And Jeff, as you listen to Coach Bud talk about look at the film, I mean, they're going to see Chris Paul finding any matchup he wants. How would you approach game 2 if you're him?
Well, I think the first thing you have to analyze is, do you like the matchups that you had on the floor defensively? And then 2, you started with the switching of pick and roll scheme and then went into a drop coverage. Again, they got what they wanted tonight against all of it. So to me, how do you deploy Drew Holiday best? Is he best on Booker? Is he best on Paul? And how can we keep him on? You got to take away one of the 2 guys. You can't have all 3 of Ayton, Booker, and Paul all getting off. So I think these are big challenges because there are no easy answers to the pick and roll game of Phoenix.
Mark, as a distinguished point guard that you were, as you watch Paul, I mean, I don't want to be over the top here and be guilty of hyperbole, but how do you best frame the performance that he had in his first finals game at the age of 36?
Oh, he was spectacular. Just did an incredible job of controlling the pace, winning the battle of 1-5 pick and roll on his own terms. Settled for nothing. Got to his spot time and time again, the mid-range jumper, and made him pay the price. He was absolutely spectacular, and the Milwaukee Bucks has got to make an adjustment of how they defended the 1-5 and 2-5 pick and roll.
And but to both of you, we've gotten the thoughts earlier from Tim Legler and Stephen A. Smith, and just and from Chris Paul, most notably, because he's the guy on the floor with these youngsters. They haven't been through these playoff battles, and I keep leaning into your experience with the process of learning it. These guys, this is their first trip around the block. I just wonder how impressed you are with what these young guys are doing in this first postseason.
I'm very impressed, but I'm more impressed with the leadership. Monty Williams setting the culture. Trusting, also securing his own manhood and secure with him as a coach to trust Chris Paul to also be a leader. And then trusting Devin Booker. It's contagious all throughout this lineup. They've done an outstanding job of embracing each other and listening.
Yeah, I love the roster that James Jones built here. I think they have a great complementary players surrounding their 2 stars in Paul and Booker. It's a really good team. They've been the best team in basketball record-wise since the bubble last year, and they're going to be tough to beat. Milwaukee, they have the talent, they have the coaching, they have the players. I do think they're missing, because I love the unit they put on the floor with Giannis at 5. If they had DiVincenzo, it would give them another size, big, skilled player that they could deploy with Giannis at the 5. So I'm really interested to see who Milwaukee plays and how they play next game.
Right, we'll get those answers on Thursday night. Look forward to visiting, hopefully, after that game's complete. Thanks, gentlemen, for the time. We'll talk again soon, okay?
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.